You're tuned into Recovery TV, the voice of hope, with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Discussions and information on addiction and mental health issues. Here's your host with today's guest.
Welcome to another edition of Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. Narcan, please get it. It saves lives. You can get it at CVS, Walgreens, URI. Put it in your pocketbook, put it in your car, take it out at night because the weather does affect it, but it's saving lives. My guest today is Lauren Bolster from Social Sparks Incorporated out of Lincoln, Rhode Island. So welcome, Lauren.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about Social Sparks. I like the name.
Yeah.
I like the name.
It started in 2015, and they were specializing in autism and social skills, so the social spark aspect of it. And it was, a social emotional learning center where kids could come to feel like they could relate to people who were similar to themselves. And we do a lot of social groups. Again, a lot of social stuff. So we do a lot of social skills groups, social emotional learning, in group therapy and individual therapy. And I'm from the South County office, so we expanded in 2022 because there is such a big need for it all over the state. And there weren't a lot of programs like that in South County, so we wanted to expand and hit that area as well.
A lot of conversations with a lot of people because of the work I do with substance use and mental health. Autism seems to be like off the charts right now.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of severity levels of autism. Is there names for levels of autism?
Yeah, well, so they call it autism spectrum disorder. So the word spectrum is, it can be, you can have higher support needs, meaning you need a lot of support to do daily living tasks, or lower support needs that you can kind of function independently. And there's some people who you would never know have an autism diagnosis because they are very functioning. So it depends on the person, depends on the severity and where they kind of fall on that spectrum and how much they need as far as services.
Children, ages what to what?
As far as Social Sparks?
Yes.
So we start around age 5 and we go all the way up to adults, any age. We have no preference as to how old or young. We generally say 5. We've been looking for individuals to come in who are younger than 5 because trauma can start at a young age. The body keeps the score, and it can children can have these reactions when they're younger. But we generally start at 5 because that's kind of when in the development stages of when you kind of become aware of yourself and your social environment, and developing that sense of self. So we really want to target, we see a lot of things emerging at that time, but not to say that kids younger than 5 don't need therapy. It's just, that's how we've been practicing, but we are opening up more for younger children and even infants.
I've been hearing things like, especially in the news, generic, not generic, trauma, and the list goes on. What is your thought on that?
As far as
children with autism, is it generic? Is it because of trauma? Is it because of a multitude of different things? I'm sure it's probably all of the above. But.
Yeah. So it's definitely something that children are born with. It's something that can be genetic, and like I said, a lot of people have gone undiagnosed for a very long time, and I think that...
Why is that, though? I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's a great question. I was just going to say, because so now we have a lot more screening materials, and we're more aware of it. We have more research. So back in the day, there were people who were maybe socially awkward and didn't engage well in the community and had never gotten the service that they needed because it wasn't something that we looked at. And now people are saying, oh, why are there so many kids nowadays who have autism? And it's not that nobody ever had autism, it's just that now we're just so much more aware of it, and we have the tools to really intervene and help, that it's just coming out a little bit more so that we can screen early on, because the earlier that we can get kids into treatment, the more likely they are to be successful in the future.
You used the word that's very interesting to me, is services.
Okay.
What are services?
Services can mean really anything. There's so many different types of services. So for example, our services include individual therapy, group therapy, family therapy, couples therapy, and then you can have things like ABA therapy, applied behavioral analysis, and you can have services like in-home services, you can have in the community services. It's just kind of a very broad way of saying like the type of intervention that they're receiving.
Well, I know some people that have services in their home, and they're very comfortable with that
Yeah.
because they're in their own environment.
Yes.
Do you see that more to be prevalent than it is being in a group setting with kids?
So as far as in-home services, it's great because they can see them in their own environment,
Right.
and they can see how they're acting. Essentially, like when people maybe, especially in the beginning phases of therapy, when they're in there, the kids tend to be on their best behavior, and we're not really seeing too much of the behaviors that they're seeing in school or at home. But when they're in the home environment, they can really see a lot more, and they're able to get there more, to be there more often than say. Like once a week if they're coming in for therapy, or maybe twice if they're coming in for individual and group therapy with our practice, but somebody who might be an at-home provider might come more than that, and that's when that's a higher level of care than we provide, so that they can be engaged with the providers a lot more and get to know them and see their routines, and the providers can see the children and how they react in their day-to-day life.
What about insurances? Do the insurances cover these classes?
I mean, so sometimes.
Or is it a battle?
It's definitely a battle. So it's been a lot harder to provide services. So some services are not available. So at home can be hard to receive if you have whatever type of insurance you have. Like they might not take it if it's like a grant-funded program. They can only take certain insurances. Outpatient providers, like we can take. I feel like any insurance that I've never heard of a new insurance that we don't accept. We accept all insurances in the state.
Right.
But that definitely can be a barrier, especially as far as if somebody does have an insurance that has a big copay, or if it's so expensive, and it really is, or they might have to cover the cost of sessions, and it's a huge barrier, I feel like, especially here.
And I know it's the insurance companies, they don't like to pot with their money.
No.
But on the other hand, you have children who need the services.
Yes.
Because of whatever they may have, autism, they may have multitude of different things going on. You have the insurance, but they don't want to pay for the treatment of these kids. Now, I see, I'm in the schools a lot,
Okay.
especially in my area. There's a lot of behavioral issues,
Yes.
a lot. I look at it as a point of broken homes. There's 15,000 kids right now living with their grandparents, whether they are having issues of substance use, mental health issues, multitude of adult issues.
Yeah.
And the kids act out.
Yeah.
And they act out in school.
Yep.
They act out after school. They act out when they're in therapy. What made you get into this field?
That's such a great question. I've always had an interest in helping people. I started off working as a volunteer first responder with an ambulance, and that was like my helping. I was physically helping people, and then I realized that I really liked the in-depth part of the conversation. Like if it was a psych call and somebody was having a mental health crisis, that part really I was drawn to it, and I really enjoyed kind of finding out what was going on and how can we help them on a deeper level, not just like, bandaging them up and getting them out.
So we're going to go to break. I want to, because it's very intriguing to me how someone would want to get into a field like substance use
Okay.
with these kids who have a multitude of different issues. As you as a mom have your own, but on the other hand, you're helping others. So we're going to take a quick break. You're watching Recovery TV, and I'm your host, Sean Tassoni. We'll be right back with Social Spark after this.
And now back to Recovery TV with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Recovery TV is made possible by our supporting sponsors and our title sponsor, Kodak. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome back to Recovery TV, and I'm your host, Sean Tassoni. Lauren Boster is in the house with Social Sparks. I love the title. Love the title. Thank you for joining us
Yeah,
today.
of course.
And thank you for what you do.
Yeah.
Obviously, as a mom with 3 kids and, a career, helping other families,
Yes.
which is a big deal. Where do you see Social Sparks in 5 years, 10 years?
We have a lot of plans for Social Sparks. We really want to expand into the community. We want to become bigger. We want to do, the neurological evaluations. We want to prescribe. We want to have providers in our company that can do this full circle type of treatment, and so that we can have a place where everyone can get their needs met. Because we all know, of course, like the waiting lists in Rhode Island are very long to get to other providers. So if we can have a place where it's all done in the same spot, I feel like it'd be super beneficial for the community.
Yeah, and it's a long wait for parents who need psychiatric help for their children.
Yeah.
They were telling me the other day that it's a 1-year wait to
Yes.
see a psychiatrist.
Yep.
That doesn't bode well for the kids or
No.
the families.
Because in that time, a lot can change.
Right, exactly. So when you first came into this field, I know we were talking about it the last segment, but we didn't really finish. What drew you to autism and children's issues?
I think that there's so many parts of it. And because in the beginning I was very much not willing to work with children, but afraid because it's so complex, and I felt like it was very hard to get through to children and their families and working through that. But when I started doing that as an intern, I just absolutely fell in love with the children. They're so, despite all the things that they've been through, they're so excited and happy, and they want to be there most of the time. There are some who do not, but most of the time they're very happy and willing to engage. And some of the kids who are so great at, listening and taking what we teach them and using it at home, and then working with the families to connect the dots, like where they have needs and the full picture of it.
And it's got to be gratifying, when you have kids with behavioral issues, autism, whatever, and the parents come in and they say, wow, what you did last week was amazing.
Yeah.
And now little Johnny is, behaving himself the right way. He's starting to clean his room. He's doing better in school. That, to me, is an award-winning.
It feels great, for sure.
Right. Now, when you look at, you're a mom. We were just talking earlier, your husband works first shift, you work second shift. It's a lot of pressure on the family, a lot of pressure. And I'm sure the folks that you deal with is a lot of pressure. We were talking a little bit about the amount of kids that are living with their grandparents now. It's a big number, 15,000.
Yeah.
The last I heard was 15,000. And issues or behavioral issues where you have a grandparent who's in their 70s or 80s with not enough tension, trying to bring up a young one, or the issue of them going around baseball, a lot of things going on in their lives. And then you see someone who comes to your organization and says, I need help. I need help. Do you get that a lot?
Yeah. There are a lot of grandparents who have care for their children, and they're just like, I don't know what to do. The times are very different. There's, a lot of different things like video games, internet, all these things that play a part. Social aspects are very different than when they were raising children, and saying, I just need help. I don't know how to navigate this. So it's, it turns into not just helping the child or the teen, whoever it might be. It's also trying to teach the guardian or whoever is with them to be like, these are the things that are proven to work, and this is the research that's been done, and how we know more about children's mental health now, and if we can kind of work together and be consistent, then we do have a good success rate.
Yeah, a lot of it now, you look at these kids, couch potatoes, and playing video games. I remember when I was a kid, my mother and father said, listen, you don't come home until the street light comes on.
Right.
You go outside and you play, and we had no computers back then, but now it's, all these kids could be professional gamers.
Yep.
and with the computers, the stuff on the screen. But then you got the flip side, where school, the issue with school, bullying in school, all sorts of things are happening in school today. Issues with behaving in school, acting out in school. how, it's hard for me to understand, but not for you. How do you put that in a cup and say, all right, this is what we need to start doing.
Yeah.
This is the plan we're going to go by. I know every child is different, but how do you start off with a plan? If I came to you at Social Sparks and said, I don't know, I just want to throw out my hands. I can't, my son, help me.
Yes. That's such a great question because there are so many different ways to go about it. A lot of it has to do with rapport building for starters, because like I'm a stranger, these kids don't know who I am. And then a lot of assessment to see what is really going on, because one kid could come in, or two, and then they have the exact same types of things on paper, like this is how they're behaving, this is what they're doing, but then they have two completely different backgrounds, families, and whatever's happening to them in school and mindsets. And we really have to figure out what's going on. And a lot of times, parents will come in with the narrative of like, this is what I think is the problem. And then when they leave and they shut the door and I say, okay, tell me your side of it. Because a lot of times the kid has a very, very different view on what they're experiencing. Right. And not saying that they're not telling their parents, but maybe they're misunderstanding or there's something that's going on that's completely different that they want help with or that they're willing to talk about. So
let me ask you this question, because there's a lot of people watching this show. If I'm a parent and I go to Social Sparks and say, listen, I need help, what's the first thing you do? You lay out a plan? Do you have a conversation with them, say, tell me what the issues are? Yeah, so the first step, we do an intake assessment, so that's just kind of like a full background on everything, on like what the presenting problem is, what their history of therapy, if any, is, what the family looks like, what social looks like, where do they go to school, like really any question that we can get to know them more. And it's hard in the first session, but trying to figure out like who they would be a good match for clinically, as far as like which therapist we would pair them with. But yeah, we start off with like the parents come in usually with the child, and then they talk about it and see like what is that big issue that we need to start helping with. All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we come back, so I gotta go to break. The big issue. The big issue. You're watching Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. We'll be right back with Social Sparks after these messages.
And now back to Recovery TV with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Recovery TV is made possible by our supporting sponsors and our title sponsor, Kodak. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome back to Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. Lauren Boster is in the house. She's with Social Sparks. Been talking about children's issues. A lot of issues. Yeah. A lot of children's issues. So I know we're gonna put the number of Social Sparks up on the screen. Is it a long wait to get in? In Lincoln, it is a long wait. South County is a little bit shorter of a wait, but still a couple months, unfortunately. For group services, it is a little bit shorter because we're constantly forming new groups based on what we feel or what we hear that the kids need. So you might have a quicker come in time if you're looking for group therapy. But the individual wait list right now is pretty long, but again, we're trying to expand. We're hiring new clinicians. Right. We're doing as best we can. Well, I mean, you look at the needs. What's happening today. The needs are like this long. It's not just a little thing. It's long, and to get the correct services that can accompany your needs in order to get your children or child better. It's a process. Yeah. It's a process. But I want to thank Social Sparks for what they do. Yeah. Very much needed. Your organization. So many children today have issues pertaining to whether they're at home or school. It's not like it used to be. I don't know. I don't want to say it on TV, but it's not getting any better. Right. It's not getting any better. And the kids need help today in order to become productive citizens as they get older. Yeah. So again, thank you so much for what you do. I greatly appreciate that. And following the program today, it's the Kodak Live. It's a fully integrated system with primary care. And next week, my guest is David Boscia from Newport Mental Health. I'm going to move down to the South County area and give you more information. So if you see something, say something. We'll see you next week.